Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, countdown to a government shutdown. President Trump sits down with top Democratic congressional leaders in a last-ditch effort to prevent a shutdown due to start tomorrow night. Republicans want to extend government funding at current levels. Democrats want to restore cuts to Medicaid and keep health care premiums from rising for millions. President Trump announces an agreement with Israel to end the war in Gaza, appearing alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who pledged support for a 20-point White House plan that includes the return of the remaining hostages.
I'm Mary Bruce with a look at the role President Trump could play in temporarily governing Gaza and the warning to Hamas if they refuse to accept the deal.
Urgent search for a motive after a gunman rammed his truck into a packed Mormon church in Michigan and sprayed bullets at hundreds of people inside before setting the building on fire. 4 people were killed, at least 8 more injured, 2 critically. The victims range in age from 6 to 78 years old.
I'm Alex Perez with the latest on what authorities are calling an act of targeted violence.
She's the woman behind one of the most powerful images in sports history, on her way to becoming the first woman to officially run the Boston Marathon. What happened next has become legendary in the running community. We catch up with her nearly 60 years later, and I ask her about that moment and the legacy she's been building ever since. And Bad Bunny headlining the halftime show for Super Bowl 60. Why the show will be different from any other in Super Bowl history.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. It is a busy Monday night. We're tracking a threat in the tropics, a possible breakthrough in the Mideast, and a terrifying close call at LAX. But we begin with that looming government shutdown. Late today, President Trump met with Democratic leaders in Congress for the first time in this entire process. Both sides are blaming each other, and the reality, the government will shut down in just over 24 hours at Wednesday at midnight if a deal is not reached. As many as 4 million federal workers could go without a paycheck, and members of the military could be forced to work without pay. Tonight, the White House is threatening to fire workers if the government shuts down. We'll hear from members of Congress from both sides of the aisle in a bit. But first, ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott leads us off.
Tonight, for the first time, President Trump sitting down with top Democratic congressional leaders in a last-ditch effort to prevent the government from shutting down tomorrow night.
It was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders, but significant and meaningful differences remain.
Democrats say they will not vote to fund the government unless Republicans restore cuts to Medicaid and keep health care premiums from rising for some 20 million Americans.
He seemed to, for the first time, understand the magnitude of this crisis.
But minutes later, a tough line from Vice President J.D. Vance.
I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing.
I asked if there was any chance for a deal.
Just to be clear, is there room for negotiation here with Democrats?
They had some ideas that I actually thought were reasonable, and they had some ideas that the president thought was reasonable. What's not reasonable is to hold those ideas as leverage and to shut down the government unless we give you everything that you want.
If the government shuts down, as many as 4 million federal employees could go without a paycheck. Many, including 2 million members of the military, could be forced to work without pay. In Alabama, that includes Heather Campbell's husband, a major in the Air Force. They have 3 children.
We're not talking about faceless humans in a faraway office. We're talking about men and women and moms and dads and grandparents and sisters and uncles. They want to show up and they want to do a good job and they want to be honest, hardworking Americans. And they're getting caught in the middle of this political rhetoric.
And tonight, the White House with a threat of its own. If the government shuts down, many workers might not just be furloughed, they could be fired. The administration now drawing up plans to potentially eliminate the jobs of people working on programs that are not consistent with the president's priorities.
Rachel Scott joins us now from the White House. So, Rachel, what kinds of programs are we talking about?
Yeah, well, the impacts, Linsey, are far-reaching. Americans that rely on nutritional benefits from the federal government could be impacted as part of the WIC program. You also have members of our military. You could have as many as 2 million troops that are going to be forced to work without pay. Also, other people that service the federal government, including TSA workers, may be forced to show up to work without pay either. So the impacts of a federal government shutdown are just far-reaching, Linsey.
All right, Rachel Scott for us. Thanks so much, Rachel. President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu say they have agreed to a plan to end the war in Gaza and return the remaining hostages. The president is laying out his 20-point plan and what role he could play temporarily governing Gaza. ABC's Mary Bruce is at the White House.
Tonight, President Trump welcoming Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House, calling it a historic day for peace.
President Trump, are you confident, sir, there'll be peace in Gaza anytime soon?
The president laying out a 20-point plan that would see Hamas release all of the remaining hostages and agree not to have any role in the governance of Gaza in any form.
The plan that we put forward today is focused on ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back, getting everything back.
In exchange, Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza and would slowly withdraw its military, though not fully.
All parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases. No more shooting, hopefully.
Gaza would be governed by an apolitical Palestinian committee overseen by an international board of peace with Trump as its chairman. And while just months ago Trump said Palestinians would have to leave Gaza, under this plan, no one will be forced to leave Gaza. We will encourage people to stay.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims.
But Netanyahu with this warning if Hamas refuses to accept.
Then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done.
A move Trump says he would support.
I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer, but if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. So, Mary, any word yet from Hamas on this plan?
Well, Lindsay, Hamas has yet to formally respond to this, but it does seem unlikely that they will accept this plan. It certainly falls far short of the full Israeli withdrawal that Hamas has been seeking. Lindsay.
All right, Mary Bruce for us. Thanks so much, Mary.
Thank you.
Next tonight to that deadly mass shooting and arson attack at a Mormon church in Michigan. And new reporting about the horrific assault and what was in the alleged gunman's pickup truck. Alex Perez reports from Michigan.
Tonight, the urgent search for a motive after a gunman rammed his truck into a Mormon church in Michigan and sprayed bullets at hundreds of people inside before setting the building on fire.
We have an active shooter at the church and PD's on scene saying the building is also on fire.
4 people killed, at least 8 more injured, 2 critically. The victims ranging in age from 6 to 78 years old.
Evil. This was an evil act of violence. That's exactly what this was.
The horror unfolding around 10:25 Sunday morning at the Church of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc outside of Flint. Officers responding within seconds. The gunman was firing an assault rifle, according to police. Paul Kirby was inside with his wife and 2 sons.
We just hear a loud boom. I was about 20 yards away from the gunman. He started opening fire, and I turned and ran towards the doors, and that's when I felt some shrapnel hit my left leg.
He didn't think they'd make it out alive.
How grateful are you that you and your family are okay?
I am extremely grateful. Sorry. Yeah, got home and just hugged my boys.
After 8 minutes of terror at 10:33 a.m., police say the suspect was killed in a shootout in the parking lot. Sources say 4 explosive devices made of consumer-grade fireworks were found in the suspect's truck.
We still are in the process of clearing out that church.
Officials identifying the suspect as 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, who served as a Marine in the Iraq War. We spoke with a local city council candidate who says he met the suspect just days before the attack.
Ultimately, the last thing he said was that Mormons are the Antichrist.
So that's a big statement. He said Mormons are the Antichrist?
Correct.
What was your reaction?
It was shocking me. It's very odd.
The suspect's father speaking to ABC's Detroit affiliate WXYZ, saying, "I feel so bad about the families that were affected by this, aside from ours. We're not the only ones going through this devastation. We are beside ourselves." And tonight, we're hearing from the family of one of the victims, 77-year-old John Bond, a Navy veteran active in his community, remembered as a beloved husband, father, and grandfather.
So many heartbroken by this incident. Alex Perez joins us now. Alex, what more are we learning about the alleged shooter?
Well, Lindsay, the gunman's described as a dad who cared for his son who battled health problems. The White House says he had a history of hatred towards the Mormon Church and that his family is cooperating with authorities. Lindsay?
Alex Perez for us. Thanks so much, Alex. A Marine veteran is facing multiple murder charges for a deadly shooting Sunday at a waterfront bar in North Carolina. Police say that Nigel Edge was armed with a rifle when he opened fire from a boat, shooting into a popular bar called the American Fish Company. At least 3 people were killed and 5 others wounded. Authorities say Edge is an Iraq combat veteran and claims to be suffering from PTSD. He's currently being held without bond. State prosecutors are considering pursuing the death penalty in the case. Charlie Kirk's suspected killer made his second court appearance today. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson joined remotely from the Utah County Jail. The cameras were turned off during his court appearance. He was only heard saying, "Yes, Your Honor," when asked if he was present. Prosecutors have charged him with aggravated murder and say that they will seek the death penalty. Robinson's next court date is set for October 30th. A close call at Los Angeles International Airport Sunday night. An American Airlines flight aborted takeoff after a cargo flight entered the runway without authorization. At one point, the 2 planes were only a mile apart. Our Matt Rivers has this story.
A frightening moment on one of America's busiest runways. An American Airlines jet packed with passengers Sunday night headed for Boston, forced to slam on its brakes after a cargo plane was crossing the same runway. A Boeing 777 taxiing at LAX. You can hear air traffic control directing the cargo plane to cross this runway.
Chairman Carter, 619 Heavy, yes, and if you can do it as fast as you can, traffic's on a 3-mile final.
Those pilots instead making a right turn, now directly in front of that American Airlines jet speeding down the runway at 154 miles per hour, seconds from being airborne. Controllers telling the cargo plane to stop, but it was too late.
Chairman Carter, 619 Heavy, stop.
We are on the runway, Chairman Carter, 619.
American 2453, cancel takeoff clearance.
The pilots avoiding a near catastrophe, stopping the jet about a mile down the runway. And in a statement, American Airlines both thanking their crew members for the swift action and also thanking customers for the understanding. And Lindsay, of course, as always, the FAA now investigating.
All right. Thanks so much, Matt. Travelers who booked tickets with low-cost Icelandic airline Play found out today that the airline has ceased operations with all of its flights canceled immediately. If any individuals are stranded, the company said that they should check for alternatives with other airlines. Flights scheduled to fly from Iceland to Baltimore, Barcelona, and Lisbon were among those canceled. Play, which launched in 2021, aimed to fill the void left by the collapse of Icelandic budget airline WOW Air, which went bankrupt in 2019. President Trump is threatening to impose a 100% tariff on any movie made outside of the country. The president claimed movie production, quote, has been stolen by other countries. He initially threatened the tariff in May, arguing that other countries offered tax incentives that have drawn filmmakers abroad. The president did not specify when or how such a tariff would be imposed. The death toll is rising in a listeria outbreak across 15 states. The CDC reported 4 people have died and 19 have been hospitalized. The outbreak is possibly linked to frozen pasta meals sold at popular supermarket and grocery stores, including Walmart, Trader Joe's, and Kroger. Tonight, we're keeping close watch along the U.S. coast as new models show the tracks of 2 powerful storms in the Atlantic. Hurricane Umberto is still a Category 4 with winds up to 140 miles per hour, and Tropical Storm Imelda is expected to become a hurricane within hours. Both are expected to make an impact from Florida to the Carolinas. Let's get right to ABC's Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, Lindsay. So we are going to watch these 2 storms on satellite tonight in just a mesmerizing image, so close to each other by 600 miles. You do not see this every day. They will interact a bit, but it's mostly going to be the synoptics, the big kind of high pressure and stationary front, which I'll show you, that's going to drive everything and steer it away. So Bermuda is going to not see Umberto. It will pass west of them, but Imelda will take that hard right turn by tomorrow. And so you'll start to see the impacts for Bermuda by Wednesday night from Imelda. Now, why is this happening and what will we see along the coast? Well, you see some rain showers, that stationary front producing them. And hey, parts of North and South Carolina desperately want this rain, at least if it comes in a steady state instead of heavy and flash flooding. But Imelda, see how it kind of interacts with that stationary front? Once Umberto makes that turn and starts to pull away, everything starts to follow. And we will see Imelda pulling by Tuesday night. All of the moisture is gone. What it will leave behind is a riled up Atlantic. So from Virginia Beach, even parts of Maryland down to Myrtle Beach and Jacksonville, Daytona Beach too. We're talking 5 to 10 foot waves and, Lindsay, a high risk of rip currents.
Ginger Z for us. We know you'll keep monitoring it. Thank you. Back now to the state of play with the looming government shutdown just about 24 hours away. We are talking to representatives from both sides of the aisle. Joining us now to discuss the impending shutdown is Representative Gregory Meeks, who serves New York's 5th District in Congress. Representative, always good to have you on the show. Can you give us a readout of what happened during the meeting this afternoon between congressional leaders and President Trump?
Well, it seems as though there's not an agreement. The president and my Republican colleagues refuse to negotiate with Democrats. From what I'm hearing, and we will be talking with Leader Jeffries directly in a few minutes, that they clearly put on the table as to what was important for Democrats and what we need to get done to save health care for Americans. When you talk about the cuts that will be made to Medicaid, as well as to the Affordable Care Act, it's a dire need to make sure that we get a deal done and have negotiations, which have not taken place until today.
Vice President Vance insists that Democrats will be to blame for any shutdown. Your response to that?
Yeah, well, Republicans control the House. Republicans control the Senate. Republicans are in the White House. This is their shutdown. We have been trying to meet and to discuss and to talk about various issues for a long period of time. Only thing that has happened is the president has rescinded a lot of the funds that would go to help with health care in the big, ugly bill. This is the first time that the opportunity to sit down and have discussion is taking place. So clearly, this is a Republican shutdown. They have the ability to, right now, to say that we're going to keep Medicaid and the subsidies to the Affordable Care Act in place. We're going to have these negotiations. We're going to talk with you, but they refuse to do that.
Democrats have helped pass continuing resolutions previously in order to keep the government open. So what's the difference now?
The difference is this: they say it's a clean CR, but it's dirty. You know, there's been rescissions. You've been seeing already things that the Congress has agreed upon, and the president has rescinded many of those. So there's an urgent need to make sure that health care continues for the American people. There's bills, letters going out now where these health care bills are going up $400 a month. There's an urgency to get this done right now. They have not met with us for the first time in 8 months. This is the first time that he sat down with Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer. They don't want and refuse to negotiate with Democrats. They prefer to move on with these partisan Republican bills. In fact, it was Schumer and Jeffries that first contacted the president to have this meeting, and the president denied them. And finally, because of pressure, they've had this meeting. They have been absolutely uncooperative and refused to meet until this point.
The director for the Office of Management and Budget has threatened to fire federal workers and not merely furlough them. Workers whose jobs, he says, don't align with the president's agenda. Democrats have called it an intimidation tactic, but more than 150,000 federal workers have already left their jobs under Trump after pressure from DOJ. So why believe it's simply an intimidation tactic this time around?
Well, I think the American people will truly see that what he's after and what he's done is negative to the American people, the American workers. You know, many of those that he had fired under DOJ went to court and they had to be brought back. In fact, even he had to bring some of them back to keep functions moving forward. So I would hope that the president would just come to the negotiating table so that we can talk and figure this out in a bipartisan way and not to try to continue punishing the American people. There is no guarantee that he's not going to try or continue to try to put the American people out of work.
Congressman Gregory Meeks, appreciate you as always. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And for more now, we are joined by a Republican on the House Finance Committee, Congressman John Rose. Thank you, Congressman, so much for your time. Give us the latest state of play. Will the government shut down early Wednesday morning?
It looks like that's what the Democrats are calling for. Leader Schumer and Minority Leader Jeffries, I think, have at least been sending the signals that they're going to let the government shut down. Obviously, the House passed more than a week ago a clean, bipartisan, nonpartisan, really, continuing resolution that would keep the government open. That's what the American people want. The Democrats have voted just 6 months ago to do exactly the same thing and did that 13 times during the Biden administration. And so that's what we should do here. This continuing resolution would just get us to November 21st, but it does so in a nonpartisan way that I think is what the American people would like to see. So I hope that they come to their senses and that Minority Leader Schumer does not shut the government down, but it looks like that's where he's headed.
I just want to piggyback off of your quote there, because Representative Meeks just told us that, quote, Republicans say it's a clean continuing resolution, but it's dirty. Your response to him saying that it's dirty?
Well, I think the term clean in this context refers to not having anything extraneous in it. It is simply continuing the current funding levels of the federal government. And that's what we mean when we say clean. There's not any partisan tricks here. There's not funding for something that's untoward. By contrast, what the Democrats are asking for is $1.5 trillion in new spending to provide for their radical agenda. So they want to hold the government and the people of this country hostage to fund health care for illegals while Americans are left behind. And they're putting illegal immigrants, frankly, first and our own citizens last.
Is there anything that Republicans are willing to compromise on with Democrats, or in your mind, it's either Democrats vote for this current bill as is or the government shuts down?
Well, I think, again, in the normal case here, and this is the case here, a clean continuing resolution is one that doesn't attempt to accomplish policy objectives in order to move forward. And so that's what we've put forward. That's what the Democrats should support. Again, this is what they've supported in the past when we've found ourselves at similar junctures in previous months and years. And that's what makes sense here. There'll be a time for discussing the priorities and programs that they want to advance. But, we shouldn't be held hostage as a country to advancing transgender for everybody and men competing in women's sports and crime and lawlessness in our streets, cashless bail policies all over the safety and security of our nation and its people. And so we simply should just keep the government open and continue the normal, process of funding the government for the coming year while we have in the period of time after the continuing resolution. That's what Republicans have put forward in the House. And I think the Leader Schumer should step forward and approve that. And then we can go back to the work of sorting out through the regular order, if you will, how we fund the government for the coming year.
Sure. My question is there any room for compromise at this moment within the next 24 hours, or Republicans saying, if you won't do this, then the government's going to shut down? Is there any wiggle room there?
Well, I think there's always wiggle room. But what I would say is the House passed this bill, not in Washington. So I think if we're going to avoid a shutdown at this point, the Democrats in the Senate would need to approve the clean continuing resolution that keeps the government open, keeps federal services functioning, keeps our faith with federal government employees who are depending on a paycheck from the federal government, avoids all the negative circumstances of a shutdown. Frankly, I don't think there is time to avoid a shutdown and arrive at some sort of more complicated compromise, because there simply is not the calendar time left to do that. So, Senate Democrats and Leader Schumer have known that. So and yet they have balked at coming to the table and negotiating in a serious way. And so I think we're at the place where, unless they accept the House continuing resolution, which again was a bipartisan effort on the House side and is a clean CR, otherwise I think we're going to have a Schumer shutdown.
Well, I want to go back to that point of time. because it's my understanding that the Democrats were asking President Trump to come to the table and he was refusing to. They met today for the first time. And so I guess the question is really, why didn't this meeting happen sooner? Why wait until 48 hours before the deadline?
Well, I think this was a game of brinksmanship by the Senate Democrats. I think they wanted to create this crisis. That's what they chose to do. I don't think they were offering serious negotiations, even in their meeting today with the president. I think they're still asking for things. They're trying to use this as a leverage point to achieve a radical leftist agenda. American people voted last November to elect the president and give Republicans control of both houses. And so I think it's unreasonable for Democrats to think that they can hold the American people hostage with the threat of a Schumer shutdown to win concessions that, frankly, they did not win at the ballot box.
Tennessee Republican Congressman John Rose, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, a school carnival takes a dangerous turn when a ride breaks, trapping people inside. How long it took for them to be freed. And imagine asking AI a question about a product and then being able to buy it immediately. How ChatGPT is now integrating shopping into its list of features. Plus, the growing controversy over a traffic stop. What happened when boxer Terrence Crawford was pulled over by police just moments after a parade in his honor? Next tonight, the controversy after famous boxer Terrence Crawford was stopped by police in Omaha, Nebraska after a parade in his honor. Our Matt Rivers is back with us, also covering this story tonight. So, Matt, first, just for those at home who don't know, who is Terrence Crawford?
He's one of the best boxers of all time, quite frankly. He is a legend, multi-time champion, several times over, and yet that makes what happened to him over the weekend that much more notable.
Oh, and that's a good early land by Crawford.
Three-time undisputed world champ. The pride of Omaha, Nebraska, boxer Terrence "Bud" Crawford spent his day Saturday being celebrated by his hometown.
Yeah, there's the champ!
A victory parade after his latest championship fight. But by Saturday night, he was being detained. Video taken from inside his car, captioned, "Being Black in America."
I'm not reaching for no gun, bro.
Showing the moment Crawford is taken from the car by police after they say he was pulled over for reckless driving.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The officer then noticing a firearm on the floorboard, ordering everyone out of the car at gunpoint.
The cop on his side went ballistic, totally unhinged. He says, get your hands up, get out the car, don't reach, don't reach. But there was never a physical gun in sight. Everyone thought we were gonna die, man.
Police later saying all guns inside the car were legal. Eventually, Crawford was ticketed for reckless driving and let go, with the Omaha mayor and the police saying the traffic stop is now being reviewed. An investigation by Police Internal Affairs also now underway.
Our job is to not speculate. Our job is to get the facts out to the people of this community and then be transparent in every step of the process.
Just hours before he was detained, the mayor seen on stage joking with Crawford after giving him a key to the city.
Tell me, what do this open? Today, whatever you want. Hey, y'all got that on camera?
So tell us, Matt, what Crawford means to this Omaha community.
I think it's important to note that he is a legend in the Omaha, Nebraska community. He really leans into the fact that he's from there. He's proud of it. He recently led the Nebraska University football team out of the tunnel onto the field a couple weeks ago. He did lots of stuff for his community. He even repped Nebraska on his mouth guard in the latest fight that he had in that boxing match there. He's a fixture in the community. But interesting, Lindsay, Crawford still has not publicly commented on what happened to him over the weekend.
It's very interesting. All right, Matt Rivers, thanks so much for bringing us that story. Coming up, we break down the wild weekend in the NFL, including the first tie of the season and a rookie quarterback's big win. And there's still 2 more games tonight. And our conversation with the first woman to officially run the Boston Marathon, but it almost didn't happen at all. We go through the legendary story and what it means for the entire racing community today. Welcome back, everyone. Team Europe clinched this year's Ryder Cup on Long Island over the weekend. Despite a furious comeback on the last days from the Americans, Europe won its second straight Ryder Cup. But fans were criticized for their behavior toward the golfers, notably Rory McIlroy. In one instance, a drink was thrown at his wife. McIlroy said what happened should not be what is acceptable at the Ryder Cup, and they would make sure fans at the next Ryder Cup understood that. It was another big weekend in the NFL world with a series of close games, a bit of history, one very big upset, and a wild Sunday night game with a surprising ending. We also saw a few teams get their first wins or losses of the season. Let's take a look at this weekend's NFL action by the numbers. Congratulations to two teams, the Giants and Texans, who on Sunday celebrated their first wins of the season. The Giants did so in impressive fashion, winning 21-18 over the previously unbeaten Chargers. Giants rookie quarterback Jackson Dart became just the sixth quarterback to win his first career start against a team that was 3-0 or better. As it stands, only two teams, the Eagles and the Bills, are still undefeated after 4 weeks. Meanwhile, three teams, the Titans, the Saints, and whoever loses tonight's Jets-Dolphins game will have to try again next week for that first win. Even though the Eagles beat the Buccaneers, it was kicker Chase McLaughlin making history by converting a 65-yard field goal, the longest outdoor field goal in league history. The week was capped off with a 40-40 tie between the Packers and Cowboys. It's the first time in 3 seasons that an NFL game has ended in a tie, which can only happen in the regular season after 1 overtime period. And last night's game was the second highest scoring game to end in a tie in NFL history. And time now for Monday Evening Quarterback, looking back on the football weekend that was and what's still to come. Joining us is ESPN analyst and former NFL head coach Herm Edwards. Thanks so much for joining us again, Coach. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Exciting football this week, especially if you're a fan that team seem to win, and that's always fun winning, right?
NFL is not disappointing so far this season. Let's work backwards and start with that wild game between the Packers and Cowboys. The result will still be the same, but should either team feel better or worse about how this game went?
Well, when you give up 40 points, this is one of those games, you know right about the second quarter that it's going to be a high-scoring game and that whoever could outlast each other will finally win, and that was not the case. It was a tie. That helps you in the long run. A tie is better than a loss, obviously, but it was an exciting win. It's probably the best I've ever seen Dak Prescott play at the quarterback position. He was just fabulous. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers thought going into the season they would have a strong defense. That was not the case against the Dallas Cowboys, but there's some improvement to do on both sides of the ball.
Understood. And one of the other notable games saw the Giants getting their first win of the season over an undefeated team and their first start for their rookie quarterback Jackson Dart. How do you think that they looked with him as quarterback, and does this change the outlook at all for their season?
Well, I don't know how many wins that they will have, but they have the quarterback of the future. I mean, he played fabulous, I thought. He has a tremendous arm. He has talent. He can throw the ball in different spots of the field. He runs as well. He's an aggressive player, plays with a lot of energy. Think about the Giants. They have 3 young players. Now, Neighbors is hurt for the rest of the year. He's a young receiver. Scatterboo, the running back, that's one of the fan favorites. He's a tough guy, right? So all of a sudden, the Giants have acquired 3 players. Offensively, when you look at, they're the future. They have a good defensive line. Now, how will that fare for them this year? I don't know. But far as the outcome long term, they have some players in place.
All right, so Super Bowl, we're talking like 2033 or so.
Yeah, not Super Bowl, not yet. Not so fast.
And we also saw the Chiefs with a big win over the Ravens. They're now 2-2 after an 0-2 start. Is Kansas City back?
They never left. I think what we saw Patrick Mahomes struggling some, throwing the ball down the field. Now they're healthy, and they sent a message to the league. We're back, and they are. Their defense played strong for them, and now all of a sudden the offense looked like the offense a couple years ago where they can make big plays in the passing game.
Just 2 teams remain undefeated, including the defending champion Eagles, Fly, who won a tough game against the Bucs. What will it take to stop the Eagles?
Well, the Eagles have a great mentality in this sense. They don't really care what it looks like. They just win, and it starts with the quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a fabulous player. All he does is win. And look, this offense is not clicking yet. It's really not in sync. They still have a new offensive coordinator, so he's trying to figure out who to get the ball to. I can give him a suggestion. Get it to A.J. Brown. That's kind of important. But, this is a team that knows how to win games. That was a big win going to Tampa for them. Baker Mayfield had a 2-1 record against this Eagle team, and lo and behold, the Eagles found a way to win another game. Not pretty, but they're 4-0.
All you got to do is win. It doesn't matter how many points to get there. Okay, rapid fire for tonight, Jets versus Dolphins. What do you think?
Oh, both these teams need to win badly. I mean, the poor Jets, look, and I used to coach that team. I'm hoping they can win this game tonight for Aaron Glenn. He was a fabulous player, played for me, and obviously a good coach.
All right, Herm Edwards, we thank you so much, as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, Dolly Parton on why she's postponing her upcoming Las Vegas residency, and my conversation on the run with Catherine Switzer, reflecting on her legacy as the first woman to officially run the Boston Marathon nearly 60 years ago. Scary moments when a carnival ride malfunctions at a school event. A tech founder is sentenced for defrauding a bank out of $175 million, and the latest deceased celebrity to be turned into a hologram. These stories and more in tonight's Rundown. Scary moments in Los Angeles when a ride malfunctioned at a school carnival, leaving several riders trapped inside. The ride, commonly known as the Zipper, appeared to have stopped mid-ride with people inside. A witness can be heard saying that some of the riders were trapped for up to an hour. The school was hosting a family fun day event with carnival rides, food, live music, and a petting zoo. No injuries were reported. Video game developer Electronic Arts is going private in a deal that values the company at more than $55 billion. The deal involves Saudi Arabia's private wealth fund and private equity firms, including Affinity Partners, the firm of President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. The buyers will pay EA stockholders $210 per share as part of the deal. The acquisition is the most expensive leveraged buyout in history. A once promising entrepreneur was sentenced to more than 7 years in prison for defrauding J.P. Morgan into buying her college financial aid startup for $175 million. Charlie Javis was convicted back in March on 4 counts of bank fraud, wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy. Prosecutors claim she overstated her user numbers while marketing the company for sale. J.P. Morgan called buying the company a huge mistake. Javis pleaded not guilty to those charges at the time of conviction and is expected to appeal. Dolly Parton announced Sunday that she is postponing her upcoming Las Vegas residency due to health concerns. The country icon shared the news in a statement on Instagram, saying in part that she wants to be at her best for her fans. Parton also reassured fans that she has no plans to retire. The postponement delays what would have been Parton's first extended Las Vegas run in 32 years. OpenAI announced today that an instant checkout feature will be built into ChatGPT. The feature allows users to buy items directly from Etsy and Shopify. The company says users can buy products without leaving ChatGPT and said more merchants are expected to be rolled out in the future. An immersive hologram experience with Marvel legend Stan Lee made its debut at LA Comic-Con this weekend. Stan Lee, the co-creator of iconic superheroes like Spider-Man, the X-Men, and more, passed away in 2018. But now fans have the opportunity to speak with the pioneer through AI technology. The AI avatar can interact with fans and is meant to connect the late legend with a new generation of Marvel lovers. She is the woman behind one of the most powerful images in sports history. Back in 1967, on her way to becoming the first woman to ever officially run the Boston Marathon, Catherine Switzer was nearly stopped by a race manager who was attempting to pull off her bib and remove her from the competition. What happened next has become legendary in the running community. Now, nearly 60 years later, Switzer still runs almost every day and has founded a running club bearing that number that started it all, 261. I recently had the chance to go for a run with her and ask her about that moment and the legacy she's been building ever since.
You have often referred to running as your secret weapon. How so?
Because all you have to do is to do it, and you become empowered. And it's for you alone. It's that sense not only of a victory, of overcoming something, but also being a part of the environment, of being part of nature, of being a force of nature. And that's a wonderful thing to feel every day.
"58 years ago, Kathrine Switzer stood at the start line of the Boston Marathon. She entered as KV Switzer. At the time, she was 20 years old. Pinned on her chest, bib number 261. She was prepared and equipped with the stamina and mindset to go the distance, all 26.2 miles. There was only one hurdle. In 1967, women weren't officially allowed to participate.
Growing up, I never came into a world thinking, especially participating in sports or running, that I wasn't allowed. Give me a sense of 1967 when you decide, I'm going to run the Boston Marathon, even though women are not allowed.
Well, first of all, by the time I heard about the Boston Marathon, I was taking my running seriously. I told my coach that I wanted to run the Boston Marathon. He'd run it 15 times, and he said, no woman could ever run no marathon. And we argued, and finally he said, okay, look, if you show me in practice, I'll be the first person to take you. And the day came, we ran 26.2 miles. He said, I can't believe it, you look great. And I said, I think it's too short. Let's run another 5 miles.
So you go 31 miles.
31 miles.
And so on that dreary cold April day, in the midst of a crowd of men, there was runner 261, Kathrine Switzer. What happened next became one of the most defining images in sports. Around mile 2, race officials realized a woman was among the runners.
Tell us about that now infamous photo and moment where one of the race officials tries to get you out of the race.
Oh, man. You know, it was a terrible thing. The press truck went by. Instantly, they saw that I was a woman. They began taking pictures right in front of us. All of a sudden, the officials' truck came up alongside of us, and the feisty co-race director jumped off this bus, went after me, grabbed me physically, threw me back, and tried to rip my bib number 261 and caught the corner of it, but didn't get the whole number. Everybody was screaming. My coach said, leave her alone, leave her alone, I've trained her. And then my burly boyfriend came running with full tilt and took him out of the shoulder charge. And the official went flying. My coach said, run like him.
Love it.
Oh, that was awful. I said to my coach, I'm gonna finish this race with my hands and my knees if I have to. And he said, okay. It took me 4 hours and 20 minutes, but I did it. And I knew somewhere around mile 22 that they needed to do something for women.
Yeah.
And that became my driving force. So it took a long time, but it changed my whole life.
Yeah.
It changed my career. It gave me a career.
She finished the race, inking her name in the history books. Switzer became an icon in the running world, empowering and lifting up women around the globe, and still holds the title as the last woman from New York City to win the New York City Marathon. That bold first step in 1967 launched her career of organizing events, staging more than 100 races in 27 countries for more than 1 million women with the Avon International Running Circuit. Switzer became a force in women's sports, a journalist, a TV commentator, and led the effort that ultimately put the women's marathon in the Olympics.
And there you go, the first ever Olympic women's marathon.
Do you ever think about the magnitude of what you have contributed to history in that single act of running the Boston Marathon?
It's a wonderful thing, but I want everybody in life to know that we all have very bad negative moments. And if you take that negative and you turn it upside down, you're going to see a positive solution. And you may not know what it is, but if you work on it, it'll happen. And it can be the most positive, amazing outcome imaginable.
In 2016, she launched 261 Fearless, a global nonprofit that's forged its own identity, merging her love of running with education. Switzer wanted to empower women to think big. 261 Fearless offers business training for club directors to set up and lead their own chapters and offers public education tailored to women's health and exercise.
6 times a year, we have online courses that women learn about bone health, burnout, leadership, networking.
261 Fearless!
The 261 chapter here in the heart of Boston lives by the Switzer motto.
Catherine continues to inspire women. Her energy is really magical and electric. She really believes that every woman is capable of getting out there.
Women continue to embrace the 261 Run Club as a space where women can take their first steps into running without judgment, like some of the women we met here in Boston.
The group is very inspiring, whether you're a runner or not. If you just want to move, whether to walk or run, just show up. After taking that first step, everything else will come into play.
As of 2024, 261 Fearless has more than 200 coaches leading women's running groups across 14 countries, from South America to Europe to New Zealand. They're also chasing down Switzer's one wish, that all women carry the same confidence to believe they can achieve anything.
What do you hope that young girls who are growing up now learn from your story?
I hope they have no sense of limitation. I hope they will realize how fortunate they are. I want them to know their history. I want them to realize how far that we have come and that they are now the messengers to carry it forward. So I think the lesson here is, look what wonderful things running and sports have given you. Be sure to pass it on to the next generation.
At 78, Switzer continues to lace up her sneakers, not just to run, but to lead, showing us all that running isn't just a sport, it's a revolution, and Switzer is a symbol of resilience and change.
What a pioneer and an enjoyable conversation. Our thanks to Catherine Switzer. On November 1st, the day before the New York City Marathon, she and her running club will announce the first ever winners of the KV Switzer Award, an award for people who've used sports as a vehicle to create positive change in people's lives. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.